Welcome to Golden Tales and Trails. I'm SJ, a women's fitness and Canicross coach, and I'm joined, as always, by my two golden girls, Sky and Daisy. This episode is brought to you by Tales and Trails Canine Outfitters. We bring you the kit you need for all your adventures with your dog. You'll find the link to our website in the show notes. Hello, welcome back to Golden Tales and Trails. I'm so excited that you are here. This time of year, I really enjoy. It's summer, school is out. Chloe, my daughter, has finished schools. And this is the time of year where we see lots of dog shows and country shows going on. And I really love going to those kind of events. And yesterday, I had the privilege of taking my business, Tales and Trails, on the road. So we are going on tour this summer, which is super exciting. And we had our first stop, which was in a forest not too far away from us. And they were doing a dog show, and I was one of the trade stands that was there. And I love going to these events. It's so much fun to see all of the different dogs and to meet lots and lots of different owners. And when you spend the entire day surrounded by dogs, you start noticing things that most people probably wouldn't. And yesterday, because I did see so many dogs and chatted with so many of their lovely owners, there was one thing that did keep catching my eye, and that was the harnesses. And I'm going to dig in today about harnesses, how to choose the right harness for your dog, some things you want to be considering when you are choosing a harness for your dog. And I just want to caveat that with saying that this isn't about criticizing anybody. We don't know what we don't know. And as I've said many times before, for example, with Canicross, when I started Canicross with my dog Rosie years ago, I didn't even know that some of the gear existed. So I did the best with what I knew at the time. And that's why it's really great that you're here listening to this podcast, because I really hope that you're going to take away from today is some information that's going to help you to make a better choice for your dog. And I know how much you love your dog, and I know that you want the best for them, which is why you are here listening to me right now. And I hope this podcast just helps you to think about how you go about choosing the equipment for your dog. And yesterday, seeing some of the dogs and their harnesses, it really reminded me why I'm so passionate about helping people choose the right equipment for their dog. When you own a pet store, you have to make some decisions about the type of products that you want to have in your store. And with Tales and Trails, some of the things that I have always been really, really focused on are things around safety, making sure that equipment is strength tested independently. And I am somebody who has ADHD, and I find shopping too much choice hugely overwhelming. Decision fatigue for me is an absolute thing. So when I go somewhere and I want to buy something, I always wanted to make Tales and Trails a really simple place. I wanted people to be able to walk into my store or use my website online. I actually wanted to make life easier for them, easier for you, easier for myself as well. And I wanted to have a business that ultimately made life simple for my customers, for you, for dog owners. So I always wanted Tales and Trails to be a place where my customers know that the products that I stock are firstly and foremost safe. They are independently strength tested. They are going to be really reliable, and they are not going to break easily. Your dog's comfort is also really important to me. So everything that I stock is always something that I would personally use on my own dog, and also is a product that I believe is not going to be harmful to your dog's welfare. So by that, I would not ever stock something such as a non-pull harness. But I'm going to talk about that in a bit more detail later as we go on. And finally, I wanted it to be a straightforward process for you. I am not going to be a retailer that stocks every single color combination and a million different brands. I want Tales and Trails to be simple, high quality, premium products that you know are going to be reliable and you are not going to suffer decision fatigue when you walk in the door and you are met by a huge array of hundreds of different colours, hundreds of different patterns. We are always about quality over colour, and we are simple but classy. As a dog owner who has ADHD, I have really struggled in the past to go down so many different rabbit holes trying to figure out what is the best kit for my dogs, and to be faced with rails and racks of huge different types of harnesses in a huge array of different colors and combinations and things like that, for me is way too overwhelming. So I just really wanted to streamline everything that I did. I wanted it to be simple but incredibly high quality, and that is what we are all about at Tails and Trails. Now, I've had my little rant about pet shops and things like that. Let's actually talk about some of the questions that you might ask yourself when you're buying a harness. And many people will start with questions like, of course, does it fit? Does it look nice? Is it easy to put on? That's quite an important question. Is your dog happy with how it is put on? And they're all perfectly reasonable questions. But in my opinion, there are some much more important questions that we should be asking. First of all, can my dog move freely in this harness? Does it restrict their shoulders? Because many harnesses do. Does it sit on their neck correctly? Because we don't want to be putting anything on our dogs that's going to interfere with the way that they breathe. And will it still fit them when they run? Because dogs don't just walk. They stretch, they climb, they jump, they turn sharply, they sniff, and they play. And their harness needs to allow them to do all of those things and to do them naturally and comfortably. Now, when I was at the event yesterday, some of the things that I saw were lots of harnesses that sat straight across the front of the shoulders. Others were too low around the chest. Some harnesses had slipped to one side and looked uncomfortable. Some were rubbing the dog under the armpits, and quite a few were simply too small because, harnesses are expensive. I understand that. And us as owners don't have an endless pit of money to buy harnesses. But obviously our dogs grow, and we often start with harnesses that are smaller, and then your dog will grow out of them. And that's normal. And people like myself as well, before I learned this stuff, we have absolutely no idea. And they'd bought the harness maybe from a pet shop or online, even from somewhere like TikTok, because somebody recommended it or because it looked comfortable. But nobody had really explained to many of these owners the actual physical movement of a dog and how a dog fits a harness and how a harness perhaps should fit your dog. And key in all of this is how a dog's shoulder actually moves. So let me put this in context for you. I'm a personal trainer, and a lot of the time people come to me and they say, what shoes should I wear for X, Y, and Z? There's an awful lot of questions around finding the right lycra leggings that aren't going to fall down when you're running. And if you're a woman, finding the right sports bra that is comfortable and allows you to move but also gives you enough support. All of those things are really important to us as humans as we're moving and we're running. So I really want you to think about the harness in that kind of context. What you're putting on your dog really does impact the way that they move. And a dog's shoulder movement is really, really important to consider, because a dog's shoulder blade isn't attached in the same way that ours is. If you think about our shoulder, we have a socket joint in our shoulder, but a dog's shoulder, and I'm talking obviously on the front legs here, it glides backwards and forwards with every stride. So it doesn't have a ball and socket joint in the same way as our shoulder does. So if a harness sits across the front of that movement, every single step becomes slightly restricted because that harness is stopping that free-flowing movement of your dog's shoulder. You may not notice it when you're walking around a park, but imagine over thousands and thousands of strides, think about how many steps your dog takes in a day. That can really change the way that your dog moves. So just imagine trying to go for a run while somebody held the front of your shoulders in place. Like imagine maybe they've sort of like you're running, and when we run with our arms, we use our arms to kind of like propel us forwards when we run. Imagine that you have like strapped your shoulders and your arms to your sides. Like, can you imagine trying to go for a run like that? Yes, you could still do it because your legs could still move, but it wouldn't feel natural at all. And this is why I think harness design really is so important. So while I was actually at the event yesterday, I had a really lovely couple come up and talk to me. They had a beautiful, like 6-month-old yellow Labrador. Really reminded me of my dog Sky when she was younger. And they wanted to ask my opinion about some harnesses. And they wanted to ask my opinion about what I call front clip and then also no pull harnesses. And this is a different type of harness. Now, fortunately, I didn't see a lot of them yesterday. And you probably know the ones that I mean. The lead attaches to a loop on the front of the dog's chest, as well as, and they often put like a secondary loop on the back. And I completely understand why people buy them. Like, they're often marketed as a quick fix for pulling. And if you've got a big, strong dog dragging you down the pavement, they can seem like a perfect solution. And yes, they can reduce pulling because when the dog pulls forward, the lead gently turns them back towards you. And that's exactly how they're designed to work. But the question that we need to ask is, at what cost does that come? Because every time that lead tightens on the front clip, it's changing the way that your dog moves. So instead of allowing them to move straight ahead with a natural stride, it's encouraging their body to twist or rotate towards you. Now, for a dog that occasionally pulls for a few steps, that might not seem like a big deal. But if your dog spends every walk leaning into that front attachment, they're repeatedly moving in a way that isn't natural for them. And I want you to imagine going for a walk with someone constantly pulling on one of your shoulders backwards. Like, again, you'd still be able to walk, but you'd probably start compensating somewhere else in your body. I'm a parent, and I can kind of liken this to when you have like a toddler and you're trying to hold on to them and stop them from running off in a different direction, or they're pulling you in a different direction. It's really uncomfortable, isn't it? And you know, dogs will compensate in their body in exactly the same way. And over time, they can begin shifting their weight differently. They might shorten their stride. They might change the way they move through their shoulders and through their back. And this is why I really don't recommend relying on a front clip harness as a long-term solution for pulling. And it's not ever something that I would stock in tails and trails. So for me, what we actually need to address is the behavior and not try and use a tool to fix it, because you're going to have to do the training. And you might want to investigate, like, why is your dog pulling in the first place? Are they excited? Have they ever been taught to walk properly on a loose lead? Are they uncomfortable? Do they simply want more opportunities to go and sniff and explore more? Are you giving them the chance to do that? So that might be something you want to consider, as well as training, because of course training takes a little longer than buying a new harness, but it gives your dog the skills to walk nicely without restricting their natural movement. Now, a really well-fitted Y-shaped harness, which of course is what I stock on my website, paired with positive training and patience, is something that is going to support your dog rather than controlling their movement. Now, if you go onto my website, you will see a huge range of Y-shaped harnesses. One of the best and most affordable Y-shaped harnesses is the line harness. And as I'm talking to you on my online store, I have it in some really nice colors. I've got a blue, there's like a pink and blue. If you like a matchy, you can match that up. And there's also quite a nice like dark sort of burgundy purple kind of color. And again, you could, the blue, the pink and the purple, you can match those with collars and leads. But one of the things I would actually really recommend is grabbing yourself a line harness. And then also on my website, you'll find a lead which is called a touring bungee adjustable. And this is a lead that you can use that will go around your waist. It has a handle at the bottom, like a grab handle. It has a carabiner fitting, so it's really secure. It's not going to come off your dog off the back of the harness. So if you had a Y-shaped line harness and this touring bungee adjustable lead, you put the lead around your waist, so you have your dog is under control, but it means that you're hands-free to then do the training that you need to do to stop your dog from pulling. So this is what I have been doing recently with my dog Daisy, is I've had her on a line harness, I've used that lead, and I've been using both my hands to then be able to train her to walk nicely, to heel, using treats and positive reinforcement. And both of those products are from the company that I love and the one that I stock, which is from a company called Non-stop Dogwear. Their products are designed to let dogs move exactly as nature intended. Like everything that they have is about free motion and allowing the dog's shoulder to move properly, whether they're walking in the woods or hiking up a mountain or running a Canicross race. And for me, the harness should support the movement of your dog and not change it. Now, I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but this is something that really does get me quite emotional. And I think about this in terms of the dogs that I have seen going through like kennels in Dogs Trust when I was working for Dogs Trust, because like so many of those dogs had behavior problems and their life was in kennels. And I really think about those dogs and how, you know, going for that one walk, and maybe this is the same for your dog as well, like going for a walk each day is the highlight of their day. Like they love it, don't they? They want to go out, they want to sniff, they want to run, they just want to look at the world. And dogs always look at the world in such a positive way. Now imagine, through no fault of your own, because again, you don't know what you don't know, your dog isn't wanting to go on that walk because the equipment that they're wearing is really uncomfortable. And I really think, like, you know, how sad that is for dogs. And if you ever get to a point perhaps where your dog doesn't want to walk out the door or doesn't want to get in the car or something, that might be why. It could be because they're uncomfortable. So let's go back to the positives of this, because I am going to end up in tears otherwise. So at Tails and Trails, I chose to stock a company called Non-stop Dogwear. And the answer of why I chose them is really simple, is because I genuinely believe they're among the best in the dog gear world. They are designed by people who understand like canine biomechanics. For me, as a Canicross coach and a personal trainer, like human biomechanics is really important, and I know how important that is for people when they're running. So I wanted the same for dogs too. I love the Y-shaped front of their harnesses, which gives the dogs the free shoulder movement, and it allows their weight to be distributed across their body rather than putting any pressure on their neck as well. Like all of the materials that they use in the products are high quality, they're lightweight, they're incredibly durable, and they're made for dogs that hike, who run, who swim, who work. So they're built to cope with like real adventures. They're going to do their job. It's like buying, I mean, I talk about trainers a lot, like buying a really good quality pair of trainers for you to go running in. It's like buying a good coat. Like, you know, you don't want to buy a bad coat because you're just going to get wet. And this is like what I love about their gear, is that the stuff that they're made is made to do a job. And they have a huge range of different types of harnesses, and they make different harnesses that have different jobs, because not every harness is designed for for Canicross or sledging or everything. And not every harness is designed for walking. And I just like think about it in this way, like we wouldn't wear a pair of football boots to run a marathon. So in my mind, dogs deserve equipment that's right for the activity that they are doing. And that is exactly why I chose to stock this brand. Okay, so let's talk about why it's important to get the right fit of harness. And this really isn't rocket science, is it? Because if you, again, are going to go and get a pair of trainers, if you're serious about running, many of us will go and get our gait analysed. Because even the best harness or the best pair of shoes in the world is not going to work if it doesn't fit properly. And that's why I will get my tape measure out and I will spend time fitting harnesses for customers, for your dog. And people are often surprised when I recommend something completely different size-wise from the one that they were expecting, because it's not about selling another harness. It's really making sure that your dog is comfortable. And when I have these conversations with people, it's really interesting to see how they enjoy the process of learning about this and then being able to see that their dog is moving more freely for the first time. And although that might not be what you want, because you might be getting one of these harnesses to stop your dog from pulling, if you know that your dog is in a correctly fitting harness, then you can then take the time to do the training that you need to do to stop them from pulling and to have them loose lead working. So remember, a harness isn't just about like giving a harness to a dog because they pull. Actually, any dog can wear a harness. And I think there really is an important place for harnesses. And sometimes people will say to me, my dog doesn't pull, so they don't need a harness. Well, actually, I believe that every dog deserves a harness that fits properly. And there is a whole different podcast episode perhaps to have around the difference between collars and slip leads and harnesses and things like that. But whether your dog's walking around the block once a day or they're doing like complete mountain hikes every weekend, comfort shouldn't depend on how active your dog is. And I really think that prioritizing their comfort is probably something that you are thinking is very important to you, particularly if you are still here at the end of this podcast. So my final thoughts on this is that yesterday reminded me that most owners simply don't know what they don't know. And I was the same. Like, I have had those harnesses. I've wanted a quick fix to solve my dog's pulling, and that's okay. Like, we all start somewhere. And even if just one person listens to this podcast episode and goes away and checks how their dog's harnesses fits, then do you know what? It's been worth my time and it's been worth the while. And that's going to make me cry again. Oh my gosh. If you're ever unsure, please go and ask someone who understands harness fitting. There are some really good independent dog shops around the UK and I'm sure across the world. Don't just go by the size guide or online reviews. Get yourself a tape measure. Go and measure your dog. If you are buying a harness from me, you can always send me an email and ask me for my recommendations. I will show you where and how to measure your dog properly for the harness. And I will recommend a harness for you as well. And I know that your dog deserves equipment that lets them move naturally and comfortably. So I really appreciate you taking the time to get through 23 minutes of me talking about harnesses and a number of occasions where I nearly burst into tears because I feel so strongly about this. And I really appreciate you listening to this. And if you have enjoyed today's episode, I'd really love for you to leave a review in the comments, particularly if you're listening on Apple, because it does help other people find this podcast, or you could even share it with another dog owner. And please come and find me over on my social media. I do have YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of the things, and I'm going to put some videos up there around like harness fitting, some of the things that I've spoken about in more detail today, and some of the harnesses that I recommend as well. And of course, if you would like any advice on choosing the right harness for whatever purpose you're planning on doing, whether it's walking, hiking, or if you're thinking about trying Canicross, come and send me an email. My email address, of course, is in the show notes as well, and I can help you go through that process. So until next time, give your dog a great big hug and lots of fuss from me, and I will see you out on the trails. On the trails, not the tails. Thank you for joining us today on Golden Tails and Trails. If you enjoyed the episode, please share it with someone you know. Until next time, Paw Crew, we'll see you on the trails. This episode is brought to you by Tails and Trails Canine Outfitters. We bring you the kit you need for all your adventures with your dog, and you'll find the link to our website in the show notes.